everyone. I'm Lexi from Later, and we're here today for our influencer marketing panel. First of all, I want to thank you guys all for being here today.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Puno. I'm the founder of PeopleMap and ilovecreatives.
I'm Jeff Mindell. I am a photographer based here in LA.
I'm Marie Cravens. I've worked in influencer marketing on the agency side for many years, both in New York and now in LA.
Hi, I'm Martinique. You can also call me Marty, and I'm a travel content creator and an influencer manager.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys again for being here today. We're just going to dive right in and talk about a topic that's been really huge in the influencer marketing world right now. So Instagram has been testing hiding likes. Right now it's been in Canada and Australia. So if this were to be rolled out to a wider audience, how do you think that would affect influencer marketing?
I think it's going to be pretty tough because right now most brands, they deal with likes, engagement rate, likes plus comments over followers. And so if they don't have that, then they're going to be either using reach, impressions, or comments.
But if I understand it correctly, I think they do still have access to that. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows otherwise.
Yeah.
I think your followers don't see it, but
Right.
if a brand that you're working with was to ask you for that information, you as the user would have that information to give them.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I was like, I'm down. I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea.
But I guess the only thing is that you won't be able to find the influencers as well.
It's not as when you're deciding if you want to work with an influencer, the first thing you do is kind of check their engagement rate, whether you're just looking yourself at their likes and comments, or you're using something like PeopleMap and looking at their average, or another influencer marketing tool that can just easily tell you. There's tons of free websites now. You can type in anyone's handle and just pull up their average engagement rate, whether it's their last 12 posts, last month. But it's so common that people are buying their likes and buying their comments anyway. So even if you have to do the extra step of asking an influencer to provide you with their engagement before you decide to pay them and work with them, you still don't entirely know if it's true. And that's why I think as marketers, we're going to have to be asking for different kinds of metrics before asking to work with influencers. And influencers are going to have to be okay with sharing those analytics. So typically at this stage, I would never ask an influencer to share their Instagram story views or swipe ups if I haven't really worked with them before, unless it was a very hyper targeted campaign focused on that. But now I think I'm going to have to before I engage with someone for a significant amount of budget, and they're going to have to be okay with sharing that with marketers more in order to get brand deals. We do have some clients in Australia where they are testing it, and the overwhelming response so far, what we've heard from Australian influencers, is that engagement is just down across the board. So I think this is going to have to be a tool that the marketers adopt anyway when we're looking for influencers for our campaigns. Is Instagram stories, I think, are just going to have more and more and more importance, and how many actual swipe ups are they driving from those stories rather than just their engagement on an in-feed post.
I personally don't think it's that bad, and part of the reason is because I'm an influencer, but I have smaller numbers. So that's what I show when I am pitching to brands, because I have a very engaged audience. So instead of my likes or my actual number of followers, I'm showing you how many people sent it, how many people saved it, and the overall reach of the post along with my comments. But I have a very niche following. So they're there because they want to be there. So it's not they might have been there because I got featured somewhere else. No, they're there because they care about what I'm saying. But I do it's almost actually really sad. Well, why do you have to take away the likes, or why do people amount their likes to them being bomb or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a double-edged sword, honestly.
I feel like the pressure would be off more though.
Yeah.
If they did, think about how much happier we would be as a society if we didn't measure it in terms of the likes that you get. So I know people that delete photos because they don't reach a certain number of likes in the first hour.
Yeah.
And that's just gone.
But it's gonna turn into something else, whatever that new metric is.
Very true.
I think regardless, there's still gonna be a number that people are gonna be looking for, and now it's just gonna be an extra step that all influencer marketers and brands have to take now to find the right person, but they're still doing some kind of metric regardless.
I'd say, like, as a personal user of the platform, I'm excited because a lot of times I do want to post something that, and I know it's not going to get as many likes, and I don't even do it for a career, and I still get a little upset. Like, it does mess with your mental health. So I'm excited for the creators that I know how torn people like you guys are between creating content that you love and doing what you love, and then also like wanting to make money off it and have a successful career, and just having one photo bomb that you might be so proud of just artistically. That's such a bummer. So I'm excited for that aspect of it. But yeah, like you said, it's, if you want to work with brands, you are going to still be having to like move the needle in a different way. So maybe it'll be a good thing where you can be more creative with your feed, but you still are going to have to really be engaging with your audience.
It's going to make people work
I mean,
harder.
if anything, it's going to be harder. Like, I think that the two stats that people are going to be looking at are comments. That's what they're already looking at right now. To see how engaged your community actually is. If are they a pod? Is it like really obvious that it's a pod or a bot? Or it's going to be clicks and sales.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's like,
I think there's going to be more affiliate programs being tested too with brands where I just think they're caring less about engagement on posts, knowing that so many people are in comment pods. Like, we can tell, like, from the marketing side, like, I can tell so quickly when someone's in a pod. It's okay, like,
That's
I don't
so
care, but I'm going to really be testing, if I want to book you for, more campaigns, I'm going to be testing how many swipe ups you got on your story, because that's where I'm seeing who's really watching your every move and seeing what you're using every day, and not just liking the photo on the feed. That's, like, what he's usually engaged with for that person.
But still, like, with someone like you, Jeff, like, people are still hiring you just because you're a great content creator. Like you take awesome photos, and that's something you can't really quantify. So that's safe.
I do think at the end of the day, keeping in mind that, like, as a creator, you want to try to keep in mind what your differentiating factor is. And for me, my why was always, I try to create content that makes people smile, and that's at the end of the day what I'm trying to put out there. And no one can take that away from me. But if the measurement in terms of like how brands work with me, if the measurement is different, I'll just roll with the punches. But I just think overall it'll be a little bit less pressure. At least in the beginning. I'm excited to see where it goes. But I also realize that I don't own any of the content that I put out there. So I'm constantly trying to just, like I said, roll with it and see where that platform takes us as a community.
I think, like, on that note, what are some like exciting things that you see happening in influencer marketing right now?
I mean, I don't know if it's like terribly exciting, but I do love that people are using their platform for more than just like pushing out aspirational content, but a lot of people are using it as a platform to get the word out about, humanity and social issues and things like that. And I love that. I love that we're in 2019 and people are really using the platform for good. Yeah.
I feel like on PeopleMap side, I really like that people are embracing micro and nano influencers. I think that's really awesome because it's like, it's just one step closer to your actual customer versus thinking of it just as like advertising and marketing and branding. It's like, oh no, you actually should connect with like the people that love your like loyal fan base. And more brands are looking for those niche groups, which is rad.
Yeah, I think with currently I'm working with all beauty brands, which I mean is arguably like the most oversaturated market when it comes to influencer. I mean that like in the most loving way possible, because I absolutely love content creators, like, and I think beauty brands know that today in order to be successful they need them to make their brand a success, which is awesome. Beauty was one of the first industries to really like adopt and respect these people and how much they were pushing the needle. But like that being said, there are just so many, which is in one way it's fun because finding like the perfect person for a specific brand and their specific goals is like it's just like extra exciting when you find the perfect person. But like Puno said, I think the brands are all really challenging us to not only do paid campaigns, but really build like a tribe or a community. Like community, I think, is like the buzzword amongst everyone on the marketing side these days. So they don't want only influencers that have an engaged community like following what they're doing, but they want a community of nano and micro influencers that are just creating content because they're genuinely fans of the brand. Because it's hard to get that when you get to like the upper echelon of influencers. Like a lot of times I can't even send a package to. I just want them to try a product because I think they'd love it, and then they're like, I don't even accept package without a guarantee that we're going to work together on a campaign. And to me, it's like, how do you know if you want to promote this brand to your followers and you haven't even tried it? Let me send it to you first. I don't mind the postage. So I think with the smaller nano and content creators, like I know they're really trying it. I know if they do share, they're really going to give an honest review. And we're using those kind of creators more and more and more, and really seeing success too. And I mean, we're rolling out, affiliate programs with our beauty brands, not just to like top influencers, but to anyone that is engaged in the community and the professional sphere as well. So like I have a makeup brand, so we work with a lot of professional makeup artists, and they have, people that are following them are really interested in like the technicality of the makeup they're doing on people, or pro hairstylists. So I think that's a really fun avenue to explore as well. And obviously for beauty, it's a little bit simpler with who the professionals are, but I think every industry can be challenged a bit further to not just find someone who's a lifestyle influencer. I think that's the next step, is like who's really, really niche, who like in that they would be the perfect person where their followers would really be interested in whatever I'm selling. You know what I mean?
I think for me, it's storytelling, the evolution of it. I think it's so much more rich now because people are really starting to tell stories so that it's relatable content, and it's showing that like, oh, you don't have to fit a certain demographic or a size or a shape or religion. It's like real life stories, and seeing that just adapt and starting to be the norm is like, finally, like we don't have to fight for so much anymore. So for me, that's the biggest thing. And then I think secondly, it would be more companies are starting to adopt influencer marketing. Like in the beginning, they weren't sure. They're like, this does not work. Influencers are lazy. Like I've heard so many myths. So now that people are starting to adopt it, like the older companies, because at first you couldn't sell influencer marketing to them. Like they didn't get it. Traditional marketing was the way to do it, but I feel like now it's all coming back. They're like, okay, this actually works. This is the new way. It's the new generation. So they're starting to adopt it more.
You're also a trusted person that people follow as opposed to a brand. I think there's a lot of skepticism a lot of the time. But if I'm a follower of yours, I've already decided that you're somebody that I trust.
Right.
And for that reason, I might take your word for whatever brand that you're working with. It's going to be a good alignment. Yeah.
Awesome. So Marie, you were kind of talking about some of that like pushback with influencers. Obviously, like nano influencers are blowing up, micro influencers, and everyone kind of is, realizing their worth, which is amazing, and creating media kits and are just more familiar with the industry in general. With more knowledge being out there, how do you think small businesses should approach working with influencers?
Yeah, so I mean, we work with brands with all sizes of budgets. We work with brands that are just launching into the US from countries like Australia or Sweden. And I talk to, other people at startups, for example. You were mentioning how like the older established brands are just starting to work with influencers. I think they're doing that because they saw like startups doing it so well. And I think like the main thing that any small business and anyone like starting to work with influencers could take away is that anyone can be an influencer, and it's not about the followings, as we've been talking about for the last couple minutes. Like likes and followers and even comments, they can all be bought, and it can all be not real, or someone can have a bunch of followers, but are they really engaged with what you are trying to market? And when I say like anyone can be an influencer, I mean, think of who your target customer is, think of the activities they would be interested in, and then go after those people. And it goes back to what we were saying about building a community, and going back to those nano influencers. Like we don't really, when I was speaking about makeup artists and hairstylists and for our brands that are really have a customer that would be interested in wellness and fitness, like there's so many amazing fitness studios in every city in the world, and it doesn't matter how much followers they have. They don't have to be SoulCycle or Equinox, but they could still be an influencer, and they have someone that's like coming to them every single week and taking their class and maybe following them on social. I think there's different really small niche like I've worked with professional dancers and professional just like gymnasts, or for like going away from beauty for a second, like car influencers and people that are like talking about cars on YouTube or driving. Whatever the niche audience is, stop worrying about how many followers they have and just get them to be an actual genuine fan of your product. I think that's going to end up moving the needle more.
I think like one way I've seen brands shift in how they approach is especially because I have a lot of small businesses and micro brands that use PeopleMap, and they're now approaching content creators not asking for a post or a story mention right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's more, can I have a photo or content, which is kind of what Candid is doing, but like the point of it
Meaning
is
for use on their platform? Got it.
and that there's no you don't have to post on yours,
Right.
which is usually where the contention is, because I don't want to have to vouch for it, right? But then what happens is like that brand now has a lot more content that they can play around with, and they can post it on their channels, see which resonates, and then be like, okay, this thing over here that they did with the glass, like that really like hit our market, so let's do a campaign around that, versus like having to feel like you completely know exactly which campaign is going to hit your market really well, and then spend thousands of hours and dollars trying to create an influencer campaign around that, like just A/B test it first. So that's been really interesting to see.
Yeah, I really like that approach.
Yeah.
Like just getting a whole slew of user-generated content.
Yeah, and not having so many no's.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, or it's gonna cost
like
like
an easier ask.
this much money for a post.
Yeah.
Right. On the flip side, how do you guys feel when brands reach out to you? Like, what do you prefer?
In terms of like a situation like that?
Yeah, I guess just like when small businesses are reaching out about a potential business partnership, like how do you prefer they reach out? Do you like options?
I mean, it always starts with like an email or a DM or something like that, and then my first question has always been, if social media didn't exist, would I care to talk about this company anyway? And if the answer is yes,
That's excellent.
yeah, I mean, because otherwise then I don't feel like I'm being taken for a ride. So if I didn't have a social platform to amplify my voice, would I care to talk about whatever this is anyway? And if it's a yes, then I'm happy to have a conversation. And if it's a no, then I'm happy to let them know, like, I don't think it's a good fit, but thank you so much for thinking of me, type of a thing. If there's anything in the future you feel like is a good fit, please feel free to keep me in mind, type of a thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think for me, mainly when brands reach out to me, it's about the diversity component. So it lets me know, okay, you want to be a leader in this industry, and you are making sure that your company reflects everybody, both inside and out. So that's the most important thing to me. And normally when they reach out to me, it'd be like, I saw this, or I read this, I saw this interview you did, or I read this blog post that you put out, and we realized that we weren't doing this. How can we help? How can we work with you? And so to me, that's what's most important. Now on the flip side, in terms of being an influencer manager, I get a lot of our influencers based off of UGC. So it's like, I look at the people who are constantly tagging us, and I'm like, this person is tagging us because they actually really love our product, so I don't have to sell them the product to sell it to somebody else. Like they're already here, and a lot of times, because I work for Skyroam, it's a mobile Wi-Fi company, so you can take it wherever you want to go and get Wi-Fi. So a lot of creatives, already work. If you want it, let me know. Be happy to give you one. Yeah, exactly. Like, don't worry, I brought an extra. If you want to take it, you can. But yeah, so it's a lot of content creators already using it, and they're creating amazing content. So now I don't have to go out and search for the greatest videographers and photographers because I already have them right there. So I'll just slide into their DMs and say, hey, can I have an email that works and goes directly to you or your agency? And I send them a deck. So a lot of them are like, oh my God. They're like, you have a deck for us? And I'm like, I do, because I want to make sure that we align with what you're aligning with. Like, I don't want you to just come on like, this is what we're looking for. If you can do this, awesome. If you want to create something on your own that aligns with our brand, fine. But yeah, so that's how I approach it.
Yeah, I feel like you can tell when someone's posting about something they've never heard of before. And they said, like, before they agreed to promote it.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. And it's hard. A lot of times when you work with agents as well, you get the same thing where, you know, you just want to get a product into someone's hands first to see if they do actually genuinely like it and they would want to promote it. But a lot of times when you can connect directly with them, like maybe over DM, this might be a tip for small businesses as well. I'd say, like, if you want to actually engage in a paid campaign, of course, be professional and like find out who their management is and send an email. But I think a lot of times agencies could like step back from the bottom line for like a hot second and just like be like, we want to explore potentially working together. Would they be interested in this brand? Have they tried this brand? Can we send it to them to try first? I think a lot of agents are very focused on just like signing the deal right away. So maybe that's something to just look out for with if you are a business owner and you're thinking of working with influencers, because I think you're going to have more success and they're going to be posting about your product or brand organically after you've sent them their paycheck if they are actually a genuine fan. So that's what you should be focused on building, from a normal customer to a hugely expensive influencer, anyone in between, it doesn't matter. You want them to really like your product.
So we've talked a little bit about the rise of micro-influencers and nano-influencers, and you've talked a little bit about affiliate programs being more popular now. How do you see these changes in the industry changing partnership rates?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I really love working with influencers that I know are actually photographers themselves, like Jeff, or like Puno said, the more nano and micro content creators that are willing to do shoots for brands in exchange for content for their feed, just because the rates for larger, like more established influencers are so ridiculously high, and I know that's because they have to outsource their photographer and then outsource, their agent or their manager. And I totally understand that, but they're getting to a point where they're kind of isolating themselves from working with more smaller, like startup brands or small businesses who might not have that budget yet, but they could be a genuine, like true fan of that brand or product. I've only been seeing the rates since I've been doing this for about 5 years. I've only seen the rates go up and up and up. Like, it hasn't really hit that plateau yet. And so, like we've been speaking about, I think some of the brands are not going to have those budgets. So instead, we've been going further and further down and looking for people that are kind of just starting out. And, it's like hard to say. Like, I think brands could look at taking a tiered approach and maybe testing with a very expensive, like more established macro influencer, a micro influencer, and then just working with a content creator. Test an affiliate code or a swipe up link for each and see what really is giving you the return on investment, which size reach of influencer. It might be different depending on your product, and I mean, the first thing you have to think of is that each level is the right person for your brand. But I would say that would be like my test that I would do if I was like starting out as a business.
I think it's tough right now anyways, just because people aren't used to purchasing on Instagram yet. So until like the consumers get used to that and influencers and content creators get used to selling that way, it's just gonna take a little bit of time for those numbers to actually happen. Like, not many people even look at how many website clicks happen on their stories. It's just not something that everybody's trained yet to do.
Totally. And think about what your product is that you're offering. I used to work with travel influencers a ton. I worked with Hyatt for 2 years, and it's like no one is just swiping up on an influencer's story and booking their week-long hotel stay. Like, they're not. They're going to save that for their next trip. Like, no one's going to buy a luxury watch. Like, but if an influencer's offering an amazing deal on something that is a low barrier of entry, like, then I think you can expect more sales. But just, be realistic about whatever your product is.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, but the hope there is like brand awareness. If they're not swiping up and booking right there.
They're checking it
if
out.
If nothing else, I now know about the Hyatt brand, right? So next time I'm thinking about where to book, I guess maybe that's the hope on behalf of
Well, I always tell like small businesses, especially like that have a Shopify site and they can do their own checkout page, just add a referral field on there, because we do that for I Love Creatives, and it's just so revealing, and it shows you kind of all the content loops that you've created that might have been something that you've, was really in the rabbit hole, like way back when. Maybe it was like a vlog like years ago, which is definitely what happened before. And that's that plus an ad plus seeing it on a podcast or whatever, all of those things is usually what we get in these referral fields. So I feel like you have to, like, as a brand, know that all of your efforts, like you said, are touching them at different points in their journey, and not all purchases are going to happen right after you launch the product. It might take 6 months, it might take 9 months before that purchase happens.
You brought up a little bit about diversity in the influencer space. So what are your thoughts on diversity? How can businesses be a little more inclusive when it comes to choosing partners that they're working with?
Yeah, I think the industry is slowly but surely changing, and I think that's an excellent thing. But like I always say, if you don't have a diverse team externally, like, your brand is not going to show it. Internally, your brand is not going to show it externally. So, there's a lot of times where influencer trips, we've all seen them, we've all seen the backlash that they got for them, and it's like, well, you had nobody on your team that said, well, there's nobody that's of a different sexual preference, there's nobody that is of a different size. So things like that really do matter, because like we're saying, it's now everyday people who are looking at your brand, so they need to be reflected. I know for me, because I'm Black, obviously, the travel space, like, I know all Black stats because I have to know them, and because I have to almost fight for us when I go in front of tourism boards, because they didn't get it before. They get it now, but even down to Muslim travelers, like, that's the group who will spend the most by 2020, and we see nobody reflected. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, what's going on? Or Latino Americans, they spend more than Black Americans do. We see them nowhere either. So it's just one of those things where it's like, why is it taking so long for the industry to catch on? When you look around, we don't all look the same, so why is that not what we're doing when it comes to marketing? So prayerfully, things will change. Things have changed, but it really takes advocates. It really takes people championing for diversity and inclusion every day, or other influencers seeing something and saying something about it, and not being scared, like, well, I did notice that, but I didn't want to say anything because I was afraid it was going to take my opportunities away. Well, if a brand is doing that, you don't want to work with that brand anyways. That's not okay at all. But in terms of brands, I have appreciated the brands who said, oh my gosh, we didn't even realize we were doing this, but how can we move forward? Or the brands who really want to have the conversation. And I get it that it's like stepping into the fire, because you don't know how your audience, who you've already created, is gonna like appeal to it or react to it, but you set the precedent. So
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with me today. I've had a blast. We're so excited to have you all as part of LaterCon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.